So tell me a little bit about the day-to-day lifestyle. I mean, where, you know, what did you eat? Sleeping quarters, friends.
When you say sleeping quarters, I got a grin. I don't know what they are. I mean, you slept where you could and not too often. We slept in foxholes. We never pitched a tent. We were on the move. We were covering a lot of territory. The day-to-day activity, well, it's usually one campaign after another. We were on a race to get to Berlin before the Russians got there, but I think it was kind of, they got a little bit ahead of us, but another outfit, I think, linked up with the Russians before we did. We linked up with the Russians on the Elbe River, E-L-B-E. They were shooting at us for 2 or 3 days, and we were shooting at them. They thought we were Germans, we thought they were Germans. Until we heard some Russian. I speak a little Russian, and I yelled across the river or something, and they yelled back, and we ran out in the middle of the river with our clothes on and embraced and shared a bottle of vodka with them.
Oh, that's great. So going back to your day-to-day life a little bit, were you walking? Were you taking trucks? Were you in jeeps, or did you walk across Europe?
Most of the time we walked, but there were times when we'd climb aboard a tank. Not the whole outfit, naturally. We had the 3rd Armored Division on our flank, and when we could, we would jump on. Tank didn't obviously hold too many guys, but where we could, we would jump on a tank and hop a ride where we could. There was very little mechanized movement with us. We were foot sloggers mostly.
And so sleeping in foxholes. Let me get back to that.
Sure.
Did you have blankets at least? Did you have fire? I mean.
No, none of that. None of the guys.
And it was cold.
Yes, some of those foxholes had water in it, and one of our common ailments among our troops was trench foot, which of course is like frozen toes. And they were given a Purple Heart for that, so the guys could just about walk.
So I assume you were involved with treating guys with trench foot?
Yes.
So what do you do for a guy with trench foot?
We couldn't do much but wrap them if necessary, give them some painkillers, and get them evacuated. I mean, it depends upon the degree. But we had to call for litter bearers quite often. Our job was to minister first aid as soon as they were hit, and then someone else's job was to get them.
So it sounds like you were involved with a lot of tourniquets maybe, and
oh, yes,
painkillers.
Right.
You see in the movies all the time the guys taking out the morphine and stabbing it into an arm. Is that
Yes.
pretty much what you did?
Pretty much. I administered a lot of morphine. We always took the little spatulas that they came in and clipped them to the uniform, so when they got back to the regimental hospital, they would know that they already gotten a shot of morphine and they shouldn't administer too much more. And we carried a supply of sulfadiazine pills, which prevented infection, and they were required to. They all carried those pills on their belts. There were eight of them, and they're supposed to drink the whole canteen of water, which holds a quart, so it doesn't crystallize in the intestines. So we didn't carry too much in the drug department, but mostly with tourniquets and bandages, and that's about it.
And it sounds like you saw a lot of guys get hit.
Yes, quite a few.
So, can you tell me about any particular friendships you made, or any of the guys? Do you still see any of the guys?
Well, most of them are gone, obviously. No, we don't see any more. There were a couple of them that lived locally, but they were from all over the country.
Were there any reunions that you went to for?
Yes, there were two. Actually, our division, since the war ended, had a reunion or a convention different places in the United States. I attended two of them. One was in Seattle, and one was outside of Washington in the state of Virginia. But they had one every year, and some people found the time to go to all of them, but I was too involved with other things. But I did attend two Timberwolf conventions, which were very interesting.
And did you meet up with some of the guys that?
Yes, yeah, I met a few guys that had survived.
Nice.
And it was very, very touching. But there was only one. There were two guys that lived in Camden County that belonged to our division. They're both gone. One was down in Swedesboro, and the other was a Camdenite, believe it or not. And I knew him. I had known him before, so
was it right?
Yeah, and it was quite a reunion seeing him on the battlefield. In fact, I came home with him when we were discharged. We came back from Monmouth, New Jersey, Fort Monmouth, and his father, as a matter of fact, brought me to my home.
So, do you remember VE Day? Do you remember where you were?
Absolutely. You know, he said, remember where everybody knows where they were when Kennedy was killed or when Pearl Harbor was attacked. So you know exactly where you were on the date of your discharge. It was on December 13th, 1945. And I was in Camp San Luis Obispo in California. And I got my discharge there and flew home from there. And on that particular day, the camp emptied out and everybody ran. We were about 200 miles from Los Angeles, and it seems everybody ran there. When on VE Day, I was in Hollywood, kissing every gal who would let me.
So, if you were on the West Coast on VE Day, weren't you thinking that you were going to be sent to Japan or to the Pacific War?
Absolutely. That's why I was on the West Coast. When we came back from Germany, we were prepared to make a beachhead, in the invasion of Tokyo. And we were out there to practice beachhead landings. And the war ended, bombs dropped in, what was it, August? Or?
I think it was in April, but I'm not sure, of 45.
I'm
not sure.
That escapes me, but that's why we went out to the coast. We were going to practice beachhead landings. And so the war ended while we were on a troop train on the way across the country. We saw people excited holding up newspapers at us. And
so this is
we didn't know what
Day?
happened. This is VJ Day, yes. And then when we found out, the day before we arrived at Camp San Luis Obispo, that the Japanese had been attacked. So we got there just in time for the celebration.
Great.
And they, thank God, canceled our beachhead landing practice. We stayed out there till December 13th. That's where we discharged.